Have you ever heard of alchemy? The ancient art that once captivated many with the desire to turn base metals into pure gold. But what if I told you that alchemy was never really about gold? Like the misty veil of ancient symbols, the true essence of alchemy has always been hidden, waiting for someone to be still enough to see through the surface. The gold that alchemists crave does not lie out there. It is awakening. It is the ability to transform suffering into awareness. It is the journey back to the most essential part of your being. Imagine, within you exists lead, all the painful memories, denied emotions, anger, loss, and even the emptiness that sometimes you cannot name. Alchemy is the art of transforming that dull mass of matter into a golden light, where you are no longer a victim of the past, but an observer with a gaze full of compassion. Ancient alchemists did not just work in laboratories, they worked with their very own inner selves. And you can too. In every pain, every crisis, every sleepless night, you are standing in front of a door. The question is, do you dare to step through? Because you see, healing is not about becoming perfect. Healing is daring to sit with the pain, looking it straight in the eye and saying, I am here and I will not run away anymore. If you've ever felt that something within you is waiting to be transformed, then this might be the moment. Join the alchemist's wisdom to discover the true art of alchemy from within yourself. When hearing the word alchemy, many people will envision bubbling test tubes, ancient cracked leather books, or an old wizard trying to turn lead into gold. But that is just the outer layer, the disguise that history has skillfully draped over this revolutionary art. Alchemy, from its earliest days, has truly been an inner journey. Gold, in alchemical terms, has never been just a metal. It is a symbol of purity, perfection, for a soul that has undergone purification and rebirth. Lead, on the other hand, is darkness. It is pain, ignorance, all the parts we have once denied within ourselves. And right in the middle of those two extremes is the process of transformation, the essence of spiritual alchemy. In Western tradition and Hermeticism, the alchemical journey unfolds through three main stages. Nigredo, blackening. The first stage of dissolution. This is when your life may be falling apart. An event, a loss, a crisis that causes your entire inner world to collapse. In this darkness, the old disintegrates to make way for the new. Albedo, whitening. After all the layers have been shattered, the soul enters the purification stage. Albedo is the first glimmer of light, when you begin to realize that you are not the beliefs, emotions, or wounds you once carried. This is the moment you wash away the mud to see the truth. Rubedo, reddening. This is the convergence of light and darkness. Rubedo is when the soul is no longer divided. You do not just heal, you become the healing itself. This is when gold appears, not outside, but within you, a new person born from the ruins. So, when someone asks, how can I heal? The answer does not lie in a specific method. It lies in whether you dare to embark on the journey of personal alchemy. No one else can do that for you. No shortcuts, no miracles. Only you and the courage to look deep within yourself, overcome the darkness, and step into the light. Alchemy is the path, but you are the one who creates the gold. Alchemy is not just a beautiful metaphor. It is an inner map, a process of transformation that occurs within each person many times in a lifetime. It doesn't require you to understand all the ancient symbols, nor do you need to sit alone in a solitary tower of experimentation. The only thing you need is the courage to face yourself. Nigredo, when everything falls apart. The first stage in the process of transformation, Nigredo, always begins with an ending. A breakup leaves you disoriented. A death makes you doubt the meaning of everything. A shocking event makes you no longer the you used to be. In alchemy, Nigredo is the dark phase, when the prima materia is burned and disintegrates into chaos. In life, that is the moment you lose all your old points of reference. Beliefs, identity, goals, everything seems to be stripped away, and you feel lost, empty. Many people stop here. They resist the darkness, seeking a way to return to their original safe state. But alchemy doesn't work that way. You cannot transform anything if you are not ready to break apart. Albedo, the first glimmer of light. When you stay with the heartbreak long enough, something starts to change. You are no longer the old you, but you are not yet the new you either. You are in between, a mysterious void. And there, the light begins to shine. This is the albedo phase, the purification. You start to see clearly what is real and what is an illusion. The old emotions that seem to be you, now you can look at them from a distance. You begin to distinguish between the voice of the ego and the whisper of the soul. Like the moonlight reflecting on still water, albedo is when you learn to see the truth without getting caught up in it. You start to forgive, not because others deserve it, but because you no longer want to carry the burden. You start writing, you meditate, you sit in silence. And little by little, the layers began to fall away. Not by pressure, but by awareness. Rubedo, becoming gold. After the darkness dissipated and the light purified everything, Rubedo appeared, like the sun after a long night. This is not the stage where you become someone new. It is the time when you remember who you are, before all the conditions, fears, and suffering. Rubedo is the stage of unification. You no longer run away from the darkness, you embrace it. You don't just talk about healing, you become the healing itself. You act from love, not fear. You are present, but not assimilated. Maybe you have been betrayed, hurt, and fallen. But in Rubedo, you realize it is those very experiences that have refined you like fire. No pain, no awakening, no loss, no realization of what is precious. This is true alchemy. It's not in the textbooks. It happens on nights when you cry alone, but still choose not to close your heart. It happens when you sit in silence and feel the pain instead of avoiding it. When you forgive yourself, when you love again, even though the heart still has cracks. Spiritual alchemy is not a one-way journey. Sometimes you think you've reached Rubedo, only to fall back to Nigredo. But each time like that, you return with more light, more compassion. And that's how real gold is created. Where do you see yourself in this journey? Leave a signal for the alchemist's wisdom if you are in the dark, in the process of purification, or shining brightly. Brave souls always recognize each other on this journey.
There is a subtle,
yet common misconception in the healing journey. That if we develop enough, meditate enough, and raise our vibration enough, we will no longer have to feel pain. That we can overcome sorrow with light, leave the past behind with positivity, and step into a world without brokenness. But that's not transformation. That is running away in a spiritual shell. You cannot transmute something if you refuse to look at it. In every ancient alchemical process, the first stage is always to accept the rawest materials. Alchemists do not start with gold. They start with lead, something heavy, rough, and seemingly useless. In our souls, lead is the pain, the unhealed wounds, the scars from the past that we always want to hide. And just like in the ancient laboratory, the process of inner transformation only begins when we bravely confront that darkness, not by denying it with artificial light. Light does not come from eliminating darkness. It comes from embracing the darkness and lighting up from within. If you have ever lost someone you cherished, been betrayed, or gone through a dark period that seemed impossible to escape, then you don't need to pretend to be strong. There's no need to rush to raise your frequency or let go just to appear as if you're growing. The alchemist doesn't really make you go faster. It only asks you to walk truly and walk through that pain with your whole presence. Healing is not about rising above pain. It's about learning to hold it, to embrace it as a sacred part of yourself. That is inclusion, not just acceptance, but integration. Imagine this. You have a part of your past that once felt abandoned, unloved. Many people will choose to let it go through meditation, journaling, or healing rituals, all of which are wonderful. But if you do them with the quiet intention of getting rid of that wounded part, then you are just putting a coat of gold paint over an unmelted piece of lead. You can call that process healing, but in the deepest consciousness, you are still telling the inner pain, you don't belong here. And that part will not disappear. It will only retreat, waiting for you to be hurt once more, to come back and knock on the door harder. The true alchemy begins when you whisper to that wounded part, I see you. I will not abandon you anymore. Transformation does not happen when you rise above the pain. It happens when you touch that pain and no longer fear it. When you sit with the dark part inside, not rushing to fix it, not trying to change it, but simply loving it, then the miracle happens. That pain, when fully seen, is no longer an enemy. It becomes a guide. It shows you the unintegrated memories, the unfinished lessons, the hidden corners waiting to be embraced. Lead only melts in fire, and the heart is the same. You must have enough courage to stay with the fire. Don't try to extinguish it. Do not deny. No avoidance. Stay. Stay with the pain until it softens in your embrace. Stay with the memories until you can look at them without trembling. Stay with yourself, whole, imperfect, until you realize you never needed healing. You just need to be seen. And from that moment, transformation begins. Not because you achieved something, but because you let go. Not because you climbed the spiritual ladder, but because you turned back within yourself. You cannot use light to erase darkness. But you can light up the darkness within and bring it back as a part of yourself. That is alchemy. Not to discard the imperfect parts, but to transform everything into light. You don't need a furnace. No need for a test tube. And definitely no need for gold. What you need is the very wound you carry with you every day. Alchemy in the modern world does not take place in ancient laboratories, but in the heart. In every instance you are hurt, broken, doubtful, and instead of running away, you choose to stay and observe. That's when the lead starts to melt. Alchemy in life is not a mystical act. It is a vibrant process happening in every breath of yours. The first is lead, needs to melt to become gold. Humans need to break to return to their essence. We grow up in a world that teaches us pain is something to be eliminated. But a true alchemist does not eliminate pain. They listen to it. They know that nothing appears in our lives by chance. Each pain carries a message within it. You are heartbroken. It could be a call to return to loving yourself. You lose someone, it can be an opportunity for you to understand impermanence and open up a different depth of connection. You shatter, that is the beginning of transformation. In ancient alchemy, lead cannot be transformed into gold until it completely melts during the process of smelting. Similarly, humans cannot evolve if they keep trying to maintain their old form. Healing is not about going back to how it was, but about becoming something deeper than ever before. The second is healing tools in life, simple yet powerful. Modern alchemy does not lie in any distant secret. It lies in mindful actions every day. Write down your truth. Write what you have never dared to say. No need to be good. No need to be reasonable. Just be honest. This is how your soul cleanses itself. Each letter is a molecule of lead melting away. Meditation, silence to remember. In silence, you begin to peel back each layer of who am I? You step back from the role, from the wounds, from the story. And then you touch your essence, something that no words can describe. Forgiveness, freeing oneself from the burden. Forgiveness does not mean accepting wrongdoing. It is the act of freeing oneself from the shackles of emotions. Forgiveness is when you no longer want to carry the burden of the past into the present. That's when you let the lead fall away, lighten up, and make room for the light. Loving yourself, the purest act of alchemy. When you treat yourself like a sacred being, the universe reflects that. Listen to your body, speak kindly to yourself, and stop comparing yourself to others. That's how you turn the shards of your heart into gold. The third is become your own alchemist, a journey no one else can take for you. No one can heal you, only you can do that. And that is the true beginning of alchemy. It doesn't start with understanding all the concepts. It starts when you look at yourself, not avoiding, not denying, and say, I am ready. When you start this process, the life around you changes. Not because the world changes, but because you change your perspective. Each pain becomes a teacher. Each heartbreak becomes a sacred ritual. You no longer chase the light. You realize the light has always been within you. You no longer need someone to save you. You have become the alchemist you have always been searching for. Finally, alchemy is not a theory. It is a way of life. Look at the people you know who have gone through crises, losses, and depression. and have become more compassionate and wise afterward. They are the living proof of the alchemy of the soul. They walked into the fire, not to be consumed, but to be refined. The difference between those who suffer forever and those who heal lies not in the degree of pain, but in how they move through it. Alchemy does not promise that you will not feel pain anymore, but it guarantees that you will never be a victim of that pain again. Alchemy has never been about gold. It is about the light you discover within yourself after having gone through the darkness. And if you are on this journey, remember, you are not alone. Each step you take towards the light is also a reminder to others that they can do it too. Real gold has never been out there. It has always been hidden deep within you, waiting to be discovered through every crack, every tear, every moment you dare to face yourself. If you have ever been heartbroken, perhaps you are on the brink of alchemy. Healing is not about forgetting the past, but rather to embrace the darkness that once existed within you. You don't need to become someone else. Just remember, you have always been an alchemist, and the light you seek is still burning brightly from within. If this resonates with you, leave a sign, so the alchemist's wisdom knows that we are still walking together on the journey of transforming lead into gold.